This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A wildfire along the Manitoba-Ontario border continues to burn out of control. It forced the province to close the entire Whiteshell Provincial Park ahead of the long weekend. But did the Manitoba government do enough to protect the area from potentially deadly fires when it had the chance? A 2021 provincial report identified the area as a tinderbox that could be in danger of heavy losses if there was a fire. And despite making a number of recommendations then, the CBC News I-team found none have been implemented. Caroline Bargut explains.
Wayne and Barb Bobichuk installed 4 sprinklers on top of their house and garage after the 2016 fires in Caddy Lake in an effort to save their property if they were ever forced to evacuate. They also packed emergency bags just in case.
This is if the fire was heading our direction, we would turn them all on, grab our bags, and we're out of here and just pray for the best.
In 2016, they felt they had more support from the province. Now they feel like they're on their own.
We had to put up our own sprinklers. We have to find out our own information. We have to, when the trees are dead, we're responsible to take them down. Otherwise, they sit here and, they can go up like matchsticks if left.
That is precisely what wildfire experts fear could happen in the Whiteshell. In 2021, experts simulated a wildfire like the ones that would typically occur in the spring and summer months. They looked at how it would impact Whiteshell Provincial Park and a 20-kilometre buffer around it. CBC News obtained a report of their findings through Freedom of Information legislation. Researchers found the extreme fire intensity would result in a rapid spread that would be difficult to contain, creating a high risk to homes, cottages, and campgrounds, as well as nearby First Nations. The report says there are a large number of homes in the area surrounded by one-lane roadways, dense tree lines, and numerous lakes, making it difficult to get out in case of an emergency. That's what makes the Whiteshell more susceptible to devastation. Any road closures from either traffic accidents or wildfire may result in large-scale entrapment situations, leading to catastrophic events, including significant loss of life if evacuees become stranded along transportation corridors, says the report. The report also identified 3 areas with the highest risk: Falcon Lake, Rennie, and Pointe du Bois. The report says the majority of properties here are vulnerable and large losses are possible. Fire suppression efforts will be effective to a certain point before resources are spread too thin. And homeowners, cottage owners, and business owners may not be able to rely on the province to protect them. Wildfire officials made 10 recommendations to help mitigate the risk. They include improving the roads in and out of the Whiteshell, educating residents about wildfire risks, and creating safety zones for people to escape to if they can't get out of the Whiteshell. It doesn't appear any of the recommendations have been implemented. The province would only say a number of factors have changed since the 2021 report, and that many of the recommendations are ongoing. Officials also said the current fire situation will inform any future steps. That doesn't surprise Sean Harbottle. His family has owned this general store in West Hawk Lake since 1958.
When you live in the park, you quickly discover that not much gets going, and a lot of things that the locals know out here are told to the parks, nothing is done a lot of times. So does it make me angry? Sure it does, but we live here and we just have to keep fighting through it.
This wildfire expert says Manitoba needs to manage the most flammable parts of the landscape and create escape routes.
These are things that should be done to reduce the risk of a fire. We cannot eliminate fire from the landscape, nor should we. It's Mother Nature doing her thing. But some fires are definitely unwanted and can burn down communities and unfortunately kill people.
Barb Bobichuk says property owners in the Whiteshell pay taxes too. She wants the government to implement the recommendations, just as they would if the risk was to Winnipeg and not cottage country. Caroline Bargut, CBC News, Whiteshell Provincial Park.
Meantime, the Cottagers Association says the fire in that area is showing increased activity due to high winds and temperatures from yesterday. Crews are working at putting out hot spots, and bucket operations are underway near Caribou Lake. It's sitting at just over 1,600 hectares in size in Manitoba, but is also burning more than 31,000 hectares across the border. The province has not provided any updates on damages. The wildfires in the RM of Lac du Bonny are contained for now, but not everyone is getting the green light to return home. Officials still have concerns about the fire spreading into other areas, and until all the hotspots are dealt with, some people are left waiting. CBC's Mike Arsenault has the story.
This is the last image Marilyn Hoskins has of her Lac du Bonny home. Thick gray clouds from a wildfire that forced her to leave.
We left right away. And that was at about 4:30 in the afternoon. And we came here to register, and then we went straight to Selkirk.
Hoskins and her husband have been staying at a hotel in Selkirk for about a week. With the wildfires contained, the RM of Lac du Bonny is slowly letting evacuees back in, but not everyone. Hoskins isn't on the list to return home because her area is still under evacuation orders.
I wish I was on that list, but like I said, our safety is priority. And we understand that.
We're not allowed past this blockade on Wendigo Road where the evacuations are still in place. The Reeve tells me there are 28 property owners in this area that lost their homes and all their belongings. He says the plan is to bring those people back to their properties over the next couple days.
There are two areas in the RM of Lac du Bonny that are still under evacuation. The east side near the RM of Alexander and the northern point near Wendigo Beach.
We have a checkpoint here. Now we also have a checkpoint here.
Reeve of the RM of Lac du Bonny, Lauren Schinkel, says roughly 650 of the 800 evacuees have returned home. He says wildfire services are concerned high winds could still spread the fire into the eastern part of the area.
We don't want to send residents in that east side back in and then suddenly have a re-evacuation. That's just not the way we want to do that. We got to be safe for our residents.
Schinkel says this is still an active fire.
We are still tinder dry here, so please do not go into the bush. Please do not set any fireworks. No bonfires, no campfires, even though you're home.
Sure, we're frustrated, but there's no point in being angry or because it's out of our hands.
While Hoskins wait for word to go home, officials are on the watch for flare-ups. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, in the RM of Lac du Bonny.
We're learning more about the couple who died after being trapped in that fire. The two had gone back to their home in an attempt to rescue their pets. Richard and Sue Noel died last week in the fires around Lac du Bonny. These details of their death came from the area MLA, Wayne Owasco. He spoke about the two during question period today.
Their final moments were filled with love and selflessness, true to the lives they had lived. They were devoted to their family, animals, and of course the community.
RCMP say the bodies of the couple had been recovered by police last Wednesday. Owasco offered condolences to their family and friends on behalf of the entire community. Meantime, the fire around Nopaming Provincial Park remains out of control. The province today confirming 19 structures have been damaged on seasonal sites at Black Lake, and the severity of the damage varies from trailers to boats or other structures. This wildfire is still approximately 101,000 hectares in size and is sitting roughly 1 kilometre from Bird River. A fire line has been established on both the north and south ends. Alberta crews are also now helping out on that fire. Let's bring in Riley. And Riley, weather playing a big factor in a lot of these fires, and people keeping a close eye on that.
Yeah, exactly. Another round of rain across southern Manitoba today. Unfortunately, none of that falling on the eastern side of the province or into northwestern Ontario where it's needed most. Again, though, the southwest corner of the province, you're probably getting a little sick and tired of the rain and other soaking throughout the day today. Some locations actually getting upwards of 20 millimeters so far today, with more of that yet to come. This is all thanks to an area of low pressure south of the border, one of them over Minnesota right now. This is tracking some of this rain into the Great Lakes, and a second one over Iowa that's pushing into the Midwest and into parts of southwestern Ontario. So a pretty broad area of rain stretching all the way from Saskatchewan down into the southwestern part of Ontario. So that just gives you a sense at how much moisture there is out there. not falling where it's needed most. Officially up to 15.8 in Winnipeg this afternoon, looking at a low of 8 degrees in Winnipeg, a cloudy sky. Another cloudy one tomorrow. I think once we get into the afternoon, we'll get some peaks of sunshine back. I'll have more on that when I come back.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
A Manitoba man is admitting to killing a 23-year-old New Jersey woman in a case dating back decades. In a deal with prosecutors, Robert Creeder pleaded guilty to aggravated manslaughter in the death of Tamara Tignor of Newark. The now 61-year-old was extradited from Winnipeg last fall after being charged with first-degree murder in the 97 homicide. He'd been linked to the crime using DNA technology in 2023. Creeder was homeless here in Winnipeg leading up to his arrest. He'll be officially sentenced to 10 years in July. Whiteshell Provincial Park is a special place for so many people in the province. And for one couple, it's where they wanted to hold their very special day. But as the area is still closed to the public and evacuation orders remain in place, it's adding some last-minute wrinkles for this bride. The CBC's Felicia Adam explains.
Yeah, so we sent out a save the date card last July.
Jessica Boswick has been planning her wedding for over a year. It's just 4 days away, but she doesn't know if it'll happen.
It's stressful to try and rearrange everything in such a short period of time, especially when weddings are booked like over a year in advance.
The out-of-control fire in Whiteshell Provincial Park is to blame. Her venue is in the park and it's closed. Boswick and her fiancé Brian Honcharek booked Falcon Trails Resort 10 months ago.
Our first dates were at Falcon Lake and we both grew up in the Whiteshell, so we wanted to have our wedding kind of circle back to where we all started.
She's hopeful the park will reopen before Saturday, May 24th, the day of her wedding. She's scrambling to find a backup plan.
We've been calling other venues. I've had my photographer and friends and family also calling other places. I put a call out on a wedding Facebook page to try and see if there's anyone else that would know of any other private venues.
And they're not the only ones. The wildfire means hundreds of people have had their reservations canceled and refunded. Falcon Trails Resort says they're usually full this time of year. The resort says if the park opens, they'll be ready for Boswick's wedding and other planned events.
It's important, but at the end of the day, no matter where we get married, I'm still marrying Brian. So I guess as long as we have each other, that's kind of all that matters at this point.
Even if that means putting up a tent. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Progressive Conservatives are looking for answers after some Manitobans didn't get their education property tax credit. This is the first year all homeowners are eligible for a $1,500 credit rather than the previous 50% rebate. The finance minister says if you didn't get the credit, it's because you didn't register your property as your primary residence. PC finance critic Lauren Stone has heard from a number of people who say they didn't get the money.
This rests at the top. The NDP made this change. It's their responsibility to reach out to homeowners as to what homeowners might or might not need to do. As we mentioned, the 50% property tax rebate was automatic on bills in the past.
The finance minister says it's important people get this new credit as soon as possible. He says registering your home as a principal residence is a municipal process. It's unclear how many homeowners have been affected. Well, as the dust begins to settle on one of the best seasons in Winnipeg Jets history, the focus now turns to the off-season and beyond. They'll dig deeper into what went wrong and the team's early exit from the playoffs. Now, the team's management will decide who stays and who goes. CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more.
Dallas Stars. Days after that season-ending overtime loss to the Dallas Stars, a summer with some noteworthy change could be on the horizon. A handful of Winnipeg's players are set to become unrestricted free agents, meaning they can sign with any team they want, like Nikolai Ehlers, who may have played his last game in a Jets jersey after 10 seasons with the team.
He's such a big part of this family, and he's the heart and soul of a lot of things we do here. Not only does he bring it on the ice, but just around the rink. He's such a pleasure to be around, and you know he's going to have your back no matter what you're going through.
Ehlers wasn't at Tuesday's end-of-year interviews because he's overseas playing for Denmark at the World Championship.
I love Nicky and hope he stays, but that's the business side of it, and out of my control.
Obviously one of our best players, and he carries the play so much when he's on the ice, and big part of our power play this year too, and you know, he's a huge piece for us, and he's big in our locker room too. He's got a big voice in here.
Many of the Jets players reflected Tuesday on the emotional nature of the last game of the year. Star center Mark Scheifele played just hours after learning his father Brad had died. Defenseman Josh Morrissey says he'll be there to support his friend. Several players and staff are going to Kitchener for Brad Scheifele's funeral.
It's inspiring to me as, you know, his best friend, but I think so many people out there probably, where I know for sure, would be inspired by that and that courage he showed, and that was for his dad's.
Morrissey also shared Tuesday he dodged the worst possible outcome of this knee injury.
No surgery, just, you know, kind of best case, but I would have probably been out for the rest of the playoffs.
As the players look to the future, we'll hear from Jets general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff and head coach Scott Arniel on Wednesday about some things like what this team can do to get out of the second round and into the Stanley Cup final. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The whiteout is over, unfortunately. But I really feel like it's kind of fitting because we've had every season of weather in the last 2 or so weeks here. We've gone from 35, 36 degrees to flurries one morning, crazy rain, tornadoes. It's been a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks. You know, coming and going with those 2 rounds of hockey come with 4 different seasons of weather here in Manitoba. It happens, right? So I want to talk. I was talking a bit on Friday about some possible tornadoes that touched down in southern Manitoba. I have a bit more information on that for you tonight. This is coming from the Northern Tornadoes Project, which does investigations and look into these reports of tornadoes. So we were looking at the end of last week the possibility of up to 3 tornadoes touching down in southern Manitoba last Thursday. So they've confirmed the one near Sperling was an EF0. No damage reports with this one touching down just after the supper hour. Environment Canada had initially suggested that maybe there was another one that touched down in Niverville. That one they've confirmed now to be, according to the Northern Tornadoes Project, to be just some dust that was swept up in some of the gusty winds that we saw at the end of last week that same evening. So that one now off the table. The one in Gretna that was also being investigated as a possible tornado also found at least 2, according to the Northern Tornadoes Project researchers, to be just some dust that was in the air, again with some of those wind gusts. So that just gives you a sense at some of that weather that we saw moving through late last week. The rain still moving through southwestern Manitoba. This will taper off as we get into the morning hours on Wednesday. Another round of it coming first thing in the morning. So Brandon, your morning commute might find yourself into a little bit of wet weather heading off to work or school tomorrow morning. In the Red River Valley, there's been some conflicting modeling with the forecast models throughout the day today on whether we see some clearing tomorrow. This particular one giving us some sunny breaks first thing in the morning. Not much in the way of precipitation, but I do think by the time we get to the afternoon tomorrow, we do see some peaks of sunshine across southern Manitoba. But certainly as we see high pressure building in, more likely to see a little bit more sunshine coming our way as we get into the day on Thursday. And by the weekend, looking at mainly sunny skies. I mean, a little bit of passing cloud as we get through the end of the week, but certainly looking at back into a more drier and sunnier pattern. By the time we get to the weekend into early next week, temperatures start to warm up above seasonal once again. In terms of rainfall, up to 5, maybe 10 more millimeters of rain coming for southwestern Manitoba. Out of some of this cloud cover, even in the Red River Valley, maybe you pick up a couple of sprinkles. Winds do pick up slightly through the overnight hours. They will start to back off by the time we get into the morning, back toward 15, gusting 30, maybe the odd gust higher than that as we head through the day on Wednesday. So we'll get a bit of a break from the winds. Still a bit of a cooler one. 9 degrees first thing in the morning for Winnipeg, looking at 6 in Brandon. We'll try for 19 tomorrow afternoon, 19 into Thursday, and there's that warm up in temperatures, Brittany, as we get into the weekend.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
In London, Ontario, another ex-teammate testified at the sexual assault trial of 5 former World Junior hockey players. It's being heard by a judge alone after the jury was discharged last week. CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick has more from outside the courthouse and a warning: some may find the details in this report disturbing.
A new witness has begun testifying, Brett Howden. He's another former teammate of the 5 accused players, and he was in the hotel room that night that the alleged sexual assaults took place in June of 2018 here in London, Ontario. Howden was testifying by video link from Las Vegas, where he lives and plays for the Golden Knights. He's not accused of any wrongdoing. He's now the 4th former teammate who was in the hotel room to testify about what he remembers and what he doesn't about that night. Howden describes returning to the hotel where the team was staying after drinking at a bar, and some of the players ending up in the room of Michael McLeod, one of the accused. Also accused are Alex Formanton, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, and Cal Foote. They have all pleaded not guilty to the charges they're facing. Howden says he recalls seeing a woman in the room and recognized her from the bar. After casually hanging out in the room for a period of time, Howden said his attention was drawn to the woman when she started getting, quote, flirty and, quote, begging guys in the room to engage in sexual activity with her. Howden testified that initially no one took her up on those offers, which prompted the woman to start egging them on and taunting them, he told the court. Eventually, Hart and McLeod received oral sex from the woman, he testified, and he saw Formanton go into the bathroom with her. Throughout his testimony, Howden couldn't recall certain details about the evening, and Crown lawyer Megan Cunningham would direct him to reference previous statements he's made to investigators in an attempt to refresh his memory. When the woman, known as EM because of a publication ban, testified, she said she had consensual sex with McLeod before others arrived in the room, and that the sexual activity that occurred after that was not consensual. She testified she felt outnumbered and intimidated in the room. Howden maintained in his testimony that she was the one repeatedly asking for sexual acts, and that he and his teammates were surprised she was doing so. Howden's testimony will continue on Wednesday. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Israel is pressing ahead with a new military offensive in Gaza. Health officials say at least 85 Palestinians have been killed in airstrikes. Multiple buildings were also destroyed. Israeli officials say they've allowed aid trucks into Gaza. The first 5 trucks entered Monday, with dozens more coming into the region on Tuesday. This comes after mounting international pressure to end an Israeli blockade. It's not immediately clear if the desperately needed supplies have made it to any of the more than 2 million people in the Strip. Experts have been warning about the high risk of famine. Canada's headline inflation rate eased last month, coinciding with the end of the carbon tax. But the same can't be said for the Bank of Canada's preferred core inflation measures. CBC's Nisha Patel has more on what rose and what fell.
Prices at the pump were 18% lower in April compared to the same time a year ago. The drop was driven by the end of the consumer carbon tax and falling oil prices thanks to higher production from OPEC countries. That helped cool overall inflation in April to 1.7%, but the price pressures for food continued.
Weaker Canadian dollar in April, could have been part of that. You also did have some tariffs imposed on fresh fruits and vegetables from the United States.
Fresh vegetables cost nearly 4% more. Tea and coffee rose 13%. The price of fresh and frozen beef jumped about 16%. Droughts in North America have reduced cattle herds, leading to a smaller supply of beef and higher prices.
Our cost of goods in general, not just for beef, but for paper products, for oils and everything, they continue to rise.
David Neinstein owns Bark Smokehouse in Toronto, where meat is a main attraction. He says his costs have spiked 30% over the past 5 years.
We've had to transfer that cost over to the consumer. We just can't afford, or we take it off the menu because we can't afford to sell it at a reasonable rate.
And shoppers at the grocery store say it's tough to find relief.
Bread has gone up like way up in prices. Like meat, chicken is like, you can't buy chicken to make a 2 meal anymore. It's just like, it's a 1 meal thing.
I never used to care about budgeting food, but now it's like, yeah, it's essential in the sense of like, trying to get the cost of living down.
You find yourself going after better deals if you can, or if you see a sale, you kind of stock up and sort of hope that it lasts and is shelf stable.
So core inflation is still a concern, and at the same time, the trade war with the U.S. is a real strain on the Canadian economy. It all makes the Bank of Canada's next interest rate decision a little more difficult. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
A new study suggests Canadians can get some types of surgeries like knee and hip replacements faster. And the plan doesn't require more operating rooms or even more funding. It calls for surgeons to work differently. Christine Burak explains.
Researchers insist wait times for scheduled surgeries can be sped up.
I think Canadians need to understand how much more we could achieve if we just reorganized ourselves.
Right now, most patients on surgery wait lists don't go to the next available spot. Instead, referrals land them on one surgeon's wait list, which may be longer or shorter. Using data from over 17,000 procedures in Ontario, researchers simulated wait times in 5 regions. They found a coordinated referral or central line for both the consultation plus surgery can eliminate prolonged wait times for joint replacement surgery. In one region, the total wait for 90% of patients dropped from about a year to around 6 months.
So if this could get Canadians their surgeries faster, why aren't we doing it?
A lot of surgeons are still skeptical. They're concerned that they'll lose their source of referrals.
It's not about forcing it. It's about doing it in a way that makes sense for patients first and for clinicians. Look at this.
Dr. Mohammed Al-Arakia spearheaded e-referral, a system that shows wait times and manages referrals in parts of Ontario. Patients can choose whether to see a preferred doctor, stay in a certain region, or just opt for the shortest wait time.
What we've seen is most people want the shortest wait time. But if you want a particular surgeon, you should be able to choose.
We don't like, hearing about patients who are suffering.
The president of the Canadian Orthopedic Association says surgeons are open to new models.
If this is brought into a way when you have surgeon input and you have patient input, and there's still some decision making and choice, that's when you'll see a tremendous amount of buy-in.
I support any measure that actually reduces wait times.
Tina Moffat spent over a year in agonizing pain awaiting hip surgery. She understands change takes time, but says it can't happen fast enough. Christine Burak, CBC News, Binbrook, Ontario.
Canada Post workers are planning to walk off the job again as of Friday. That means any parcels or letters you plan on sending with them or are expecting could well be stuck in limbo. Canada Post received strike notices from the union yesterday. Some 55,000 workers are set to take strike action on the same day their collective agreement expires. Both sides indicate they're willing to go back to the bargaining table, but they're still far apart on the big issues. Hockey fans across the country are watching this year's playoffs, and they only have one option left if they want to cheer for a Canadian team. The Edmonton Oilers are headed into the Stanley Cup Western Conference Final this week. CBC's Paige Parsons has more.
Edmonton has won the game and the series!
Edmonton Oilers fans say this is the year the team can take the cup.
You watch, we're going to go all the way.
We want the cup! As this year's playoff run heats up, Oilers diehards are once again welcoming fans of other Canadian teams to hop on the Edmonton bandwagon.
All Toronto fans are all going to be Oilers fans now, so including all Winnipeg and Vancouver, everything's going to be all Edmonton now.
We have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. I think this fan base reaches far more than the city of Edmonton.
The Oilers are the last Canadian team standing in the playoffs, facing off against the Dallas Stars starting Wednesday, knowing some fans are shifting allegiances to back them.
Obviously, there's going to be some Flames fans or Toronto fans that probably aren't cheering for us.
The pressure is on now. Winnipeg Jets fans' hopes were dashed on the weekend. The Toronto Maple Leafs are out too, and some of their fans are fed up.
There's more jerseys on the ice in the last 10 minutes that I saw jerseys in the stands.
Like every year, it's the same song and dance. It's just brutal.
Even Canadian skaters playing against Toronto say they don't envy the pressure Leafs players were under.
It's got to be tough on those guys to walk to the rink every day and not feel that, because you see the way the fans treat them at the end. Like, how do you not feel that every single day?
And so it's all on Edmonton, facing a more formidable version of Dallas than last year.
They traded for Mikko Rantanen. He's one of the best players in the NHL, so they have the star power that maybe they were missing a little bit last year.
But this sports writer adds that the Oilers are now more experienced too, that they have the depth and the talent to win.
I think the general hockey fan in Canada will be cheering on the Edmonton Oilers. They want a Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup. They want to bring it back to Canada.
They meet the Stars on Wednesday in Dallas. Paige Parsons, CBC News, Edmonton.
Actor George Wendt, who was best known for playing Norm Peterson on the hit TV show Cheers, has died.
Afternoon, everybody. Norm! How you doing, Norm? What do you know? Not enough.
Wendt was on the show from 1982 to 1993. He appeared in all 275 episodes of the hit sitcom. The role earned him 6 consecutive Primetime Emmy Award nominations. Wendt died peacefully at home. He was 76 years old. It's a $1 million expansion that hopes to help feed people in Winnipeg's North End. The CBC's Zubina Ahmed explains why folks in that neighborhood are excited about a new kitchen.
Had only one working stove and it used to be here, and now we're able to have these 2 stainless steel stoves.
Crystal Leach is a youth programming coordinator at Mama Wichita Center. She shows us the newly renovated kitchen at Turtle Island Neighborhood Center, which can now cook up to 400 meals. It has new cabinets, countertops, commercial-grade appliances, and an expanded pantry.
Every time that we survey young people and we talk to children, youth, and families about what they want in youth programming and why they come to our youth programs and why they access spaces like this, and one of the number one things they say is to eat, for snacks, for food, for dinners.
Mayor Scott Gillingham says the $1.8 million investment came from the city's recreation and library facility investment strategy.
The kitchen and the kitchen table and food and sharing of food is kind of central to the experience. It's where people bond together. It's not only learning a life skill, but it's a place where community grows in the kitchen. And so the organizations that are community organizations that are using this space are using it to build community here.
Point Douglas councillor Vivian Santos says a space like this will help prepare healthy food for families and youth during programming in the North End.
Nutrition plays a vital role in physical health, mental health, and overall focus. We know that kids can't learn or participate fully when they go hungry. That's why investments like this really matters.
The kitchen will also be used by the Winnipeg School Division and Graffiti Arts Programming. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
This is dramatic video of a violent storm in a French village just south of Toulouse. You can see in some of the close-up shots hail crashing down the size of ping pong balls. Local reports say storms are expected in the south of France throughout the rest of the week. It's definitely not what you think of when you think of the south of France and the beach weather and film festivals and hailstorms.
Just over a year ago, it was May 16th last year when we got that hailstorm in Winnipeg that moved through the western side of the city. You might recall some of the pictures. It kind of looked like it had snowed. The hail wasn't that big, but...
So you're saying it could be worse.
Yeah, definitely. We have seen, as I've mentioned the past few days, some good rain in the southwestern part of the province. I want to start with a look at our precipitation numbers. We haven't actually seen nearly as much as we need onto the eastern side. I know I probably sound like a bit of a broken record when I say that, but I mean, have a look at some of these numbers. This is our May rainfall so far compared to the average. So in Morden, this is up to the end of yesterday, 89 millimeters of rain throughout the month, 118% of your normal. In Brandon at 100%, about 3/4 with still a little bit left to go, and some rain that fell today in the southwestern corner of the province. But Comparing that to what you see in eastern Manitoba, just 17% of your normal, into Pinawa, into Lac du Bonnet, where those fires are burning, and just 8% of your normal so far this May in Kenora. So the further east you go, certainly the less rainfall we've seen, and unfortunately I don't have any real measurable rain in the forecast for that part of the province as we get through the next week at least here for much of southern Manitoba. All right, your dog walking forecast. This is 14-year-old Cooper enjoying a little lay in the grass and the flowers. Thank you, Linda, for sending this picture in. As always, looking for your pet pics to talk back at cbc.ca. I could always use more, especially as we get into the summer months here in the coming weeks. So for the day on Wednesday, by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, looking at temperatures around 19 degrees. Southeasterly winds do start to back off a bit as we get later in the day especially. So maybe a couple of breezy moments throughout the day, particularly early in the day, but overall not a bad day. Yeah, maybe a bit cloudy through southern Manitoba. Temperatures right now, Winnipeg pop backing up to 16 degrees as we head into the supper hour, 7 in Brandon, Dauphin at 10 degrees, and looking at temperatures still in the double digits as well for parts of northern Manitoba, where it has been a little bit sunnier. Overnight temperatures, still some rain in the west, 3s and 4s into Brandon, 7s and 8s into the Red River Valley, looking at 4 degrees overnight in Thompson. A clearing sky as we get through the overnight hours with a little bit of cloud hanging around first thing in the morning. But you'll see in the north as we get through the afternoon, temperatures actually in some cases warmer than the south tomorrow. 18s for Flin Flon, the Pas, and Lynn Lake. 19, a mainly sunny sky by the time we get into the afternoon for Thompson. Grand Rapids at 13. Still a little bit of rain through the morning hours in the southwestern corner. That does taper off, and we'll get back, Brittany, into some sunshine by late afternoon.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, from the classroom to the movement to the dance studio, students are getting an opportunity to experience learning not only through seeing and reading, but through feeling rhythm and history in their own bodies. It's the new University of Manitoba class called Experiencing Dance History. And of course, CBC's Jim Agapito checked it out.
To some, dance is a way to express themselves through human movement and emotion. But for the Experiencing Dance class at the University of Manitoba, it's the cultural and historical side that's on point and matters.
Tall, tall body to the side. 2, 3, very nice, roll it up. 2.
So my name is Liz Markwart. I'm a teacher here at the University of Manitoba, and I'm also a PhD student in Peace and Conflict Studies. I have wanted this for over 20 years. I wanted dance in university, and so I had to go away. So I went to York University for my undergraduate dance degree, and I'd always wished that there was something here. There's different things that exist, but as a standalone dance course that can be taken as an interest in dance and not because it's a degree requirement, I think opens the door to a lot more dance being available at the university at a level that's not studio, do a recital, be committed for a whole year, but actually learn about yourself a lot more in a single term and get credit for it.
Pui ili sticks from Polynesia. They make noise against each other. They make noise against your body, but they don't hurt.
A group of us had been talking about there not being enough dance represented at the university, so we created a course that's called Experiencing Dance History that included cultural components, written components, visual components, but the main part is experiential. So the dancers that came into class were able to learn from a variety of guest teachers, from myself, and they spent the year having a great time learning about each other.
And we never stop moving, and we try to get to that straight elbow position on the end. Yeah, there we go.
So I structured the class both to be in studio and in the classroom. So it was about a 50-50 split. The first 2 to 3 classes we were in a classroom where we were learning about our biases and about how colonization changes the way we view things. But it's usually through the dominant culture's lens. What I tried to do was start to take the information from the oppressed lens.
Switch, switch, 1, switch, switch. So now without a break in between, it goes 1 switch, switch, 1 switch, switch, 1 switch, switch, 1 switch, switch.
We got to learn a little bit about how they felt about their environment, how they felt about each other, how they felt about their ancestry, and how they felt about different aspects of colonization that happened all over the world.
My name is Evelyn Clowater. So I'm studying kinesiology and I just graduated with my bachelor's degree. I found it very interesting seeing that there was a cultural dance class. I do cultural dance myself. I do Polish folk dancing, so it stood out to me trying to maybe try out some other dances, other cultural dances, and experience that. I was able to learn about a lot of different cultures and learn directly from students as well, especially from our professor, but other students we were able to learn about their cultures and get to actually dance them and experience it in that way. It's a very good learning opportunity. It's very different from being in a classroom setting where people can be telling you things, but when you get to go in and physically experience it, you get to feel what other people are feeling within their culture and their dances, and I think that's a very good way of learning outside of the classroom.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit faster.
My name's Sagit Thind. I'm 20 years old. I initially started in the Faculty of Sciences, but I just recently moved to kinesiology.
Can you tell me, what were you teaching in class?
Yeah, I was teaching Bhangra, which is a Punjabi folk dance. I've been dancing since I was very young, so it's been a part of my life from the very start. It's actually really interesting that despite it being an art, it was so pushed against back in the day, and it went through so much just to get here today. And I think this being one of the first dance courses at the university, I think it's a pretty big deal.
Tell me about the types of students that took the class.
They came from all over the university and from all levels. There were at least 3 students who had never set foot in a dance class before, so we had to start right from the beginning.
What's your favorite part of doing this class?
Absolutely, the best part is watching the students grow, thinking about their ancestry, just watching them understand themselves a lot better and understand the world a little bit better, that it's so nuanced, that it's not just what you read in a textbook, it's not just what somebody tells you, it's about getting the feeling of what it's like, what it potentially is like to have lived through some of the hardest times in lots of these cultures.
A reminder that some neighborhoods in the city will see spraying against tree pest caterpillars starting tonight. Crews will be out in Crescent Park, Point Road, Wildwood, and Rockwood. They expect to spray over the next 4 weeks if weather permits.
All right, some rain falling across western Manitoba. Out of some of this today, anywhere between 10 and 20 millimeters of rain. Generally, radar picking up some heavier pockets that around the Highway 16 corridor. Do expect that to continue into the overnight hours, tapering off in the west as we get through the morning. Winnipeg, we're left with a cloudy sky tomorrow. Some peaks of sunshine by the afternoon, 19 degrees, another 19 on the way for Thursday. And then we start to see temperatures jumping up once again. So into the 20s for the weekend, a sunny weekend ahead for both Saturday and Sunday at 22 degrees, 20 for Monday, and looking at a breezy day next Tuesday, mainly sunny sky and up to 26. And the longer range models are showing some warmer temperatures than that toward the end of next week. Well, it weighs 1,100 pounds. 70 feet long. No, I'm not talking about a shark or a whale or anything like that.
No, culinary students at Vancouver Island University have created a record-breaking dessert. Take a bite or two out of our daily lift.
It is not the Victoria Bar. It is not the Saskatoon Bar. It is not the Ottawa Bar. It is the Nanaimo Bar.
Okay, you are looking at the world's largest Nanaimo bar. The record-setting dessert was unveiled, of course, in none other than in Nanaimo, BC. The recipe includes, get this, Riley, 125 kilograms of butter. In case you're wondering, that's the equivalent to the weight of a baby elephant. It's also included 91 kilos of icing sugar, 77 kilos of graham cracker crumbs.
Nanaimo's mayor declared May 17th Nanaimo Bar Day in honor of the popular treat. In case you're wondering, the previous Guinness World Record for the largest Nanaimo bar was set back in 2020 by a chocolatier from Ontario. This one nearly doubled that previous record. I am such a sucker for a good Nanaimo bar.
Well, I was going to say, I hope people got to try it. And of course, we're seeing some people there looking like they are some very happy people in BC with that Nanaimo bar. Pretty delicious.
So
not a bad
good.
way to get a record.
I think I need some of that now.
Right? We might have to run out after
tasty.
the show.
Yeah, exactly.
A little sweet treat for this start of the short week.
Don't let me have too much.
Can't promise. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
See ya.